Let's take a look at the efforts of the Glass Committee and some of the things we've done to focus attention on those problem areas I briefly outlined. And let's see, based upon this short discussion, where we can go from here collectively in order to eliminate problems and frustration. We have educational efforts underway. In the fall of 2012, we published internally the Systematic Cleaning and Restoration of Architectural Glass. That's a 10-page paper. If anyone is interested in that, get in touch with me or President Butch over here, and we could perhaps get you a copy. It's kind of interesting. I'll go through some of the topics covered in a moment. We have educational seminars at the IWCA conventions. This is interesting, I think. Last July, the IWCA was approved as a provider by the AIA CES program to offer a 4-credit continuing education course. In 2019, we have the upcoming IWCA convention, again with the informative seminars. And in 2019, the AIA CES, our first session, will be held at Glass Expo Northeast, somewhere in Long Island. I'm supposed to make the trips, I better find out where I'm going. But here's the title of the presentation and the course: The Unique Vulnerabilities of Glass at Construction Sites. In the past, when you consider conventional wisdom, how many people have given thought to the fact that glass is vulnerable? Because am I missing something, or didn't conventional wisdom teach in many instances that glass was immutable? You install it into a building, and it's there for 100 years or 200 years, no problem. And the reality is, the real world is quite different. Also underway right now, developing a concept of regional seminars, 4 to 5 hour programs. And if it wouldn't be that I'd put you to sleep, I could probably talk here for 4 hours just on material that emanates from the simple topics that we've outlined so far. There's so much material, so many things to learn, and sometimes not enough time to present the material to folks who have an interest. So we're looking at regional seminars as part of our educational effort. Let's go back to that 10-page paper on the systematic cleaning of architectural glass. IWCA, by way of the Glass Committee, we actually initiated research into the nature of common dust and dirt. Now, how many companies or organizations have time to research the nature of common dust and dirt? We did it, and you may find the results quite interesting. Concrete runoff. I'm going to ask a question. There's no wrong answers to the questions I ask, because your answers help me assess how well my participation in the educational process has developed. So you're helping me evaluate myself, so there's no wrong answers. Concrete runoff. Is the following statement correct? We have a building facade, the concrete is fully set. We have rainfall, we have concrete, what we call concrete runoff. A condition develops on glass. The condition is very difficult to remove. Now, is it true that we say that that condition is the result of alkaline etching of the glass surface? How many folks believe that that is the mechanism in play? No one? That's good, then we're making progress. But it helps me. How well have we done in pointing out certain things that were part of conventional wisdom, where actual experiment and observation has changed what conventional wisdom teaches. So that's helpful. We talk about hard water spots. Really tenacious hard water spots and concrete runoffs share the same chemistry, believe it or not. We talk about glass restoration. I'll get into that in a few slides. And the frequency of cleaning of glass and maintenance at building sites, that's covered in a document. This is what the first page looks like. And if you want a copy, again, let me know. The research efforts. Our research into common dirt and dust. What did we discover? How many people may have heard this statement? I did twice within the past year. Once, a classmate from high school, and he asked what I was doing at an alumni luncheon, and he says, "You need a diamond to scratch glass, don't you?" And more recently in December, I was at an encounter, and a fella said to me, "Well, you need a diamond to scratch glass, don't you?" So how many people still believe that? We did some work in conjunction with RJ Lee Group. You'll find this interesting. There's a dirty door, close up. That's outrageous. It's neglected. Here's the analytical results. You look at those little arrowheads that were in that common dirt and debris, which we took time to study. I must have nothing important to do. I actually studied this stuff and got excited about it. The red arrow points to a silicon peak. That indicates silicon oxide. It's sand. And that door is on a door of the municipal building in my local community, and the closest beach is probably Presque Isle on Lake Erie, 200 miles away. So you don't have to be at the beach to encounter sand particles. Here's another one. This was in the mountains of Virginia. Filthy, neglected glass. Oh, here we see some different peaks. This indicates there's aluminosilicates in this material. All right, let's get rid of the science and move on. Why are these findings important? Here's something from the world of mineralogy dating back to 1812, the Mohs hardness scale. On the Mohs scale, anything with a higher number is capable of scratching something with a lower number. So let's look where glass is, 5.5. Sand particles are 7. The aluminosilicates are 8. Bottom line is, what was important about the study of common dirt and debris? There are so many common materials in the real world that are very capable of scratching glass. You don't have to have a diamond. You don't have to have specialized carbide materials. Glass is vulnerable. The species that can destroy or challenge glass are everywhere. So you have to know, how do you approach situations where glass has been neglected? That's a real challenge for all of us. Another area where we did some studies, this was at Penn State. We'll talk about glass restoration in context with this section. This is glass that was scratched. I took one of those scratches and did the following. You know how they tell people, don't try this at home? I did this at home. This photograph. What we found was something very interesting with respect to restoration, extremely important. This was an offensive scratch, visible at a distance. The width is only 7/1000 of an inch. You look at this microscopic view and you think, well, you can't do anything about that glass. There are restoration techniques capable of polishing out damage of this sort. Now, one of our findings, which really points out that there is a future for restoration, a glass scratch is typically 10 times wider than it is deep. Can you imagine if it was 10 times deeper than it is wide, how much polishing would take place? And the risk of distorting a surface during restoration, the probability of that would be greatly enhanced. That little crevice down the middle, that's probably a few 10,000ths of an inch in width. Another thing I should point out here, it's happened several times, people have encountered scratch damage. Let's pull a sample out of a building, let's send it to Paul, let's send it whatever, let's have it analyzed. And it's almost like a crime scene. Please don't tamper with the evidence, because when you pull glass that was cleaned, even though it was damaged, out of a situation and send it to a lab, it's been compromised. Because all you can tell when you look at glass that's scratched like this is, was that scratch induced by a sharp or a blunt indenter? Was it a sharp particle or was it rounded? That's all you can tell. And the way that scratches propagate on glass, it's a series of radial and lateral cracks These generate glass chips. So if someone looks at a scratch and says, oh, I found a glass chip, my question would be, was that the primary initiator, or is that a byproduct of the propagation of the scratch? Because you don't know. And in several instances, I was asked if my analysis would result in destruction of the glass. I said, no, don't need to do that. Because opposing counsel would like to have it analyzed. My response was, please tell me what they find out. Because I knew they would probably make up a story because that sample could tell nothing more than was it sharp or blunt. But more important than doing post-mortems on surface damage, restoration is a viable option. There was a case in Pittsburgh where there was true alkaline etch in a building, $1.2 million for a reglaze. I don't have pictures here, again, not enough time to present all that. A company from Philadelphia came in and did restoration. The building was condominiums, particular people, older folks, some of them younger than me, but they were older folks. 605 window units were successfully restored. I later asked the building manager what were the savings to the condo association. So out of the $1.2 million in estimated reglazing charges, she says, Paul, we saved $900,000. Another instance in Ohio, an automobile dealership. Unfortunately, $75,000 roughly of interior office panels were damaged. I called one of my colleagues down near Cincinnati. I says, Vic, do you know anyone who does restoration in Central Ohio? He plugged me into someone. That company went and did a bid, did a demonstration, bid on the project, got the project. It cost more because they had to work nighttime and weekends to not interfere with the automotive customers coming into the building. I think the fee was somewhere around $35,000, but that was better than someone forking over $75,000. Again, there are success stories. So before you jump into a situation where replacement may not be comfortable, although some people may want to replace in order to sell more glass, restoration is a viable option. There was a case in Pittsburgh. Somebody jumped the gun and replaced $40,000 worth of glass in a building. I asked some of the principals who contacted me a year after the fact, way too late to do anything, did you know anything about restoration? The answer was no. I said, that's too bad. We probably could have saved somebody a lot of money. But again, some of these conclusions we're able to draw because of this esoteric work that we've undertaken, sponsored by the Glass Committee and the Board of Directors of the IWCA.
Stay tuned for our next episode of AWC TV by following us on YouTube, Facebook, or our website, awcmag.com.